All of this comes 2 days after a judge sentenced Wilson to death for killing 2 Cape Coral women, Kristine Melton and Diane Ruiz, in 2019. On Tuesday, before his sentence was decided, Wilson's defense team were still fighting to spare him the death penalty by bringing in a doctor showing the findings of Wilson's brain scans. This was in an effort to show that Wilson suffered from brain damage. Today, the judge asked if he understood what he was pleading to.
Hey everybody, Larry Lawton here. I got a really good video for you today. It's going to be about Wade Wilson, the Joker, and not Batman's Joker. We are talking about a young man here in Florida, 29 years old, who was just sentenced to death. Very rare, and we're going to be talking about the death penalty case on this case. Is it justified? Well, what Wade Wilson, the Joker, did was he killed 2 people. He killed 2 women brutally in Cape Coral, Florida. Cape Coral, Florida is near Fort Myers. If anybody knows anything about that, it's on the west coast of Florida, looking at the peninsula. And there's good areas, bad areas, but it's a pretty nice area. West Coast is not bad. I used to have a vacation spot there myself. Well, Wade Wilson, the Joker, has been sentenced to death at 29 years old, and he committed these crimes at 24. Let's dive into it. To understand the case, you have to understand Wade Wilson, his past, and you have to also understand what happened. He killed these 2 young, very vibrant young women. One was a person named Kristine, and the other one was Diane. And both of these girls didn't deserve it. They didn't know him. He killed one woman in her apartment, and brutally, it says brutally beat and strangled her. Obviously, there's some personal wackos there. And then the other one, a few days later, and this is in 2024, he ended up killing another girl, Diane Ruiz, and that way, and they found her body in the woods, in a desolate area in the woods. Now, let's get into a little bit of Wade Wilson. Wade Wilson grew up in a very tumultuous household, no parents, in and out of juvenile detention. He was strife for trouble with no help available. Now, mind you, I'm not giving this guy an excuse at all. The reason it became pretty hot in the news is, one, because he gets the death penalty. And yes, he has these tattoos, as you can see, and I'm showing him these tattoos of the Joker, they're calling him. Now, he got those tattoos in prison. He did small stints. We used to call that in prison is, oh, he's doing life on the installment program, meaning he does a couple of years, gets out, does a couple more years, gets out. Well, during one of these stints, he ends up starting to get face tattoos and the Joker tattoo, which became infamous with him. So Wade Wilson goes to trial, gets convicted. He's no rocket scientist. They had evidence right away, DNA, other evidence, trace evidence from ballistics, the whole works, so not ballistics, forensics that are on a crime scene. He was caught right away, so we're not talking about a rocket scientist trying to premeditate and make these murders so perfect that he can't get caught. Obviously, the guy has got a mental problem. In my mind, obviously, you don't do what he's done and look into his past, and that's where we're going to get into it. Well, now, a lot of people say after he gets convicted, it's on the news, he gets the death penalty. Now, is the death penalty warranted in this case? You're going to have some people out there who are going to say, I don't care if you kill someone, you should die. That's your opinion. I have always of the opinion, 1, I don't believe in the death penalty. 2, it is not a deterrent to crime. And that's one of the reasons I don't believe in the death penalty. You know, it is proven, many studies, that the death penalty does not deter crime because the person at the time of that crime is not in logical mind and thinking, oh, if I do this, I'm going to get death. I'm not going to get life. I don't think it really matters, and they've proved that. Many studies have proved that. They also proved with over 1,000 people exonerated from death row, that these people were exonerated and found innocent with DNA. Now, I'm not saying it's in this case at all. Obviously, I think he did it. He was convicted. They had so much evidence. This was a slam dunk, so to speak. So then why does the man get the death penalty? Well, the death penalty is supposedly maybe even a public deterrent, showing people, yes, you know, some, again, people believe in the eye for an eye. I don't. Because I was there And living in prison for the rest of your life is probably more torture than even getting the death penalty. But this young man didn't care. He gets the death penalty. And as of right now, he is in Stark, Florida, which is where Florida State Prison is, in Stark, and he is awaiting death. Now, what's the length of an appeal on so? The average person takes 16 years to be put to death. That's the average. Some are 30, some are 10. 16 years to administer the death penalty. One with all the appeals and everything else, and of course they're indigent. That makes it a state obligation to pay for all these heavy appeals, all this stuff that goes on. So it's actually cost effective if you put him in prison for life than you actually put him to death. It's actually cost effective. So there's not even a reason in that regard you would do that. So Wade Wilson, in my mind, doesn't belong on death row. He belongs in life in prison. Maybe studies could be done. I know people say, Larry, I'm not a bleeding heart, even a little bit, guys. I am a person who believes in justice, no matter what. These two young girls didn't deserve this, nor does anybody. But listen, a person gets killed in a DUI. Do I think that person who hit the DUI should be in life in prison? No. I know it's sad, and I know people's lives are lost, and you can't get them back. But does that person deserve the death penalty? I don't believe so. Making choices. Now, people say, but Larry, this is a lot different than the death penalty. This is a man who literally went out and killed two people. I classified him personally as psychotic. This guy is not of the right mind. And if you looked into his past even a little bit, which I'm sure they did, see, when you get sentenced in prison, in court, you get what they call a PSI, pre-sentence investigation. Or PSR, pre-sentence report. What that does, it gives the judge all the information he needs to give a logical sentence to this young man. Now, in that report, it's going to have his childhood, his upbringing, his times in juvenile detention, anything that happened to this man earlier. Sadly, no parents to be found in this case, and maybe people are saying, it's just a waste, which makes it even worse, because most parents are going to say he's been troubled, he had mental illness, I tried to get him help. Obviously, this young man had torn apart family. He was petty theft, a whole bunch of stuff when he was a little kid, loitering, assault, petty theft, and that's what put him in jail. That's a telltale sign of somebody's got a mental illness if you keep doing the same things over and over. Now, some people will say, well, if it was just an addiction, he could have quit. Yes, he could have. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Who am I to say what his mental state is? Because a mental state, in this case, has to be, they only evaluate you for a mental case if they're going to try to get a defense of mentally incompetent, which usually gets a person off totally. And they actually go to what they call a facility for the criminally insane. I don't like that either. I mean, listen, I don't know what they should do. We have a kid here who's obviously has some mental, but you can't do what he did and not be skewered or mental. Is he violent? Is he? Yes. Yes, he's everything I just said. So was I. Did I murder people? No. So I get it. I get why I got out and why he didn't. But what do you think of the death penalty? Do you guys think the death penalty is a deterrent? Do you think the death penalty is cost effective? Look it up yourself. I'm giving you my numbers. Do you think the death penalty is deserved? And if so, in this case and in what cases? It's hard for me to argue with anybody who says, hey, a person who's a 12-month-old baby, and that has happened more times than I want to count because I know first responders. What do I think of that person? I think that person not only is mental, but I hate to be contradicting. I want that person dead. Anybody who abused children, it doesn't have a spot in my planet, if you want to call it that. In conclusion on this case, and it's a short video and I wanted to make it that way because I don't want to highlight some crap, but I did want to show you who this man is. Here's the conclusion I get out of this. The deaths of Diane Ruiz and the other girl, Kristine, are tragic, and nobody's going to take that away. And there should be penalties to that, of course. to the most severe, I guess, if you believe in the death penalty. But it really gives us a lot of questions on how society is dealing, one, with people who are more insane than maybe in past, what medicines we have today that we didn't have back in the day. And here's the thing nobody thinks about. You know, back when I was doing my crimes, and even back when I was a young person, there was 180 million people in the United States. I remember that. Today, there's 360 million. So you are talking about double the amount of people from when I grew up. So thinking of that, you're going to have more wild cases, probably more outlandish cases. And in conclusion, I have to say, we need to really reevaluate our whole justice system. I talk about it a lot, but I'm going to say it here. But that's the case of Wade Wilson. Have a great day, please. Stay safe. See you next time. Please like, subscribe, comment. We're having some problems. Some people say they're not getting my notifications. Please make sure your notifications are on. And have a great day, everybody. Stay safe.